Hey guys, this is National Master Kevin Yang back at it with another video. So today we're going to talk about another simul game. It's this week against none other than Aron. So let's get to it. So I am black, Aron is white. Let's look at it from Aron's perspective. E4, E5, knight f3, knight f6. So at this point, this is what is called the Petrov's defense. Knight takes pawn, knight takes pawn. So it's not the usual, I'm going to defend my boy. It's, I'm going to throw some punches at the opposing boy, right? So this is more of the, we're going active, we're going to go attack, and we're going to have some fun. But then comes knight c3 and knight c6, and all of a sudden it looks like what is called the four knights. Yes, I know, four knights in the center of the board. Knight controlling, knight controlling. So they're just symmetrical. This is what is called the four knights. And after bishop to e2, bishop to b4, saying, I'm going to take and possibly take this pawn. Our friend Aron says a3. And here I could consider doing this, but after knight takes e4, white can get the pawn back. How? Knight takes e5. And after knight takes e5, well, queen to d5, queen to d4. One way or another, white is going to get one of those knights. So that is the way to do it. So I said, I'm going to bring my bishop back. But I also said, remember to look at the threat and sort of just see what your opponent's doing. Because it's always important to do that. Bishop to a5, and now d3. Protecting the pawn, castles, castles. So now, I gave my friend Aron a chance to play the move b4. And here b4 would have been pretty good. And here's the reason why. b4, bishop to b6. And now there is the move bishop to g5, saying, I'm going to come to d5 next. And all of a sudden, this bishop cannot come to e7 to help out. This knight is going to be stuck. And it's going to look kind of sad. So for example, d6, knight d5, bishop to e6, and now all of a sudden, knight takes, pawn takes, and bishop to h6. There's this line of sight, and it's not looking so great for black. So, this could have been a continuation, but instead, our friend Aron said, let's just castle. Perfectly fine. And then I played bishop takes c3. Because at this point, I was planning to take on c3 and take on e4, but I told my friend Aron, I said, I'm going to give him a chance. I will not do that, so I'm going to do that very soon. So I just take instead. And after b takes, I say I play d5. Let me just activate my pieces. Pawn takes, knight takes, now c4. So after c4, I have multiple options. Number one, I can come to c3 and trade for this bishop on e2. I thought that was not quite attractive because I felt like this knight had more potential than this bishop here. This bishop, well, it needs a few moves to get out, and these pawns really block its way. So I said no to knight to c3. So then I looked at knight to f4, and after knight to f4, I said, well, maybe bishop takes, pawn takes, maybe rook to e1, and then bishop back, and then rook to e4, and all of a sudden this pawn may seem like more of a target than something as a good thing. So I said no, and I was like, in the end, I brought my knight back to f6. Rook to b1, not a bad move. I think bishop b2 might also be a good move, or rook to e1 might be a good move. All direct their attention toward this e5 pawn. So rook to b1, and here I played b6. Now the reason is because I knew the rook pretty much looks towards b7, right? So how can I, because I want to develop my bishop, but at the same time I also want to protect this pawn. So what do? I play b6. I say, I'm open to developing this way. I'm open to bring my bishop out this way. So after rook to e1, bishop to b7, bishop to g5, I said h6. You bring your bishop back, rook to e8. I don't care. h3, well, finally I say, you know what? This pawn is kinda annoying, so I play queen to d6. Knight to d2, pretty good move. I like the move. Bishop takes, followed by knight to e4. I say, I'm going to bring my knight in. I'm going to open the line for my bishop. I'm going to assert my knight on a very good square, maybe put the knight to f5, and try to create some threats. So after bishop to f3, I said, you know, if you want to trade, I'm going to trade my knight, because I kind of feel like this bishop has very good potential all of a sudden. Knight takes, and here I play a very, very tricky move. Knight to h5. Now what does this move do? Well, obviously there's really a very hard intention to find. Knight to f4, queen to g6. Going for this g2 square, using the bishop as a force to gang up on this square. That was my plan. Did it work? Well, it worked, but was it supposed to work? Not really. It wasn't supposed to work per se, but it worked. So after queen to c1, I played queen to g6. So I could have also played bishop takes f3. I could have also played knight to f4. It really didn't matter too much what I played. I could have also played f5, g5, but I played queen to g6. I wanted to say something tricky. I wanted to take on f3 with a pin. I wanted to say I'm threatening knight f4. But after knight takes e5, well, checkmate's on the board. So what did we learn from this game? Well, bishop to e2, bishop to b4, a3, and bishop to a5. After d3, castles, castles. So all this opening was standard. But remember that b4 might be an option. Just always keep that in mind. Even though it may not be a great move to play in any position, there might be bishop g5 and knight d5 example. These kind of pressure moves that are in the position. So in the game, it was all okay. Now after d5, take, what I would say is, c4 is good. But another move to play would be bishop to d2, bishop to b2, queen to e1. They're all okay. c4, knight f6. So now the engine is saying knight to c3 is good because we chomp off this bishop, but I had other thoughts. Knight to f6, rook to b1, and this was all standard, right? So after h3, now I'm not sure if h3 was so necessary because you didn't really need to save that hole for the bishop because I don't think it was getting trapped anytime soon, but our friend Aron did it anyways. So here knight d2, I like the move knight d2, but it also does give up d4, I have to say. That's a very powerful square, but at the same time, it also encourages white to get to a better square. So after knight to d4, bishop to f3 was probably why. I mean, I didn't quite like that move because I would have said bishop to f1, just kept calm. Um, Maybe even played knight to b3 and tried to trade off this powerful knight. But after this, knight h5, I got my tricks in. Like, for example, I could have taken here. I played queen g6 and checkmate instead. So it was fun, but life is hard. So sometimes checkmates come out of nowhere, threats are nasty, and I'll see you next time.